Hello. Welcome back. This one is gonna be a bit interesting because it's not a very popular opinion. But I would like to discuss something that's happened to my cycling. I would say it's the best thing to ever happen to my cycling. It's very unpopular, so it's gonna be, well, it's gonna ruffle some feathers, but I don't care. I don't need to convince anyone. It worked for me. It works for other cyclists as well. Um, yeah, let's get into it. Uh, so let's get into business. What I would like to discuss is the keto diet or a low carb diet. Low carb, by definition, is what anything 100 grams and below per day. So that's considered low carb. I try to stick to a more strict keto diet, which is 20 grams of carbs per day. So I totally stopped eating rice, bread, noodles, or anything like that. Not even milk. So I rely mostly on protein, so meat and lots of veggies. I love my veggies, and of course the coffee. It's always there. But yeah, no more sugar for me. And I've started doing this since September last year, and I was very skeptical because I know that when you're a cyclist, you need to carb up. You know, like before big rides, I would carb up days before, like just lots of carbs, and then during the ride, I would start eating after the first hour of cycling, and then every 30 to 45 minutes after that, just lots of eating while I'm riding. And sometimes it's hard because you're climbing and you need to eat, so you have gels. And yeah, sometimes if a ride is really fast and you have to eat, I would sometimes choke on my food. Um, I don't do that anymore. I've done 150, 160, and more than 170-kilometer rides on my fixed gear, which is the topic of my next video, by the way. And I didn't even have to eat. Really, it's very efficient. Yeah. So let me talk about how I got into this, how I started. Well, you see, I'm a very skeptical person. Like, why would a cyclist stop eating carbs? But then I watched this video and I wasn't really paying attention. But then they got to this particular segment where they say um, the body requires essential amino acids and essential fatty acids, but there's no such thing as essential carbohydrates. No such thing. And for me, that made me realize that my body doesn't really need carbs. So if the body isn't designed to process carbs, then it means I should survive without carbs. And me being very skeptical, I was scared because I'm a cyclist. I know that I need to carb up. So during my first few rides, I had gels with me, I have power bars and so on, and at the same time, I also have keto bars. You know, low carb, high in fat, high in protein, and yeah, I just went with it. It took me more than 2 months before I became fat adapted, and that's when I realized that I don't even have to eat anymore. I just needed to keep my hydration. So 600 mils of electrolytes every hour. I try to stick to that schedule, and I don't even have to eat anymore. And my energy levels have been sustained. Um, yeah, that's what happened to me. Before I started with the keto diet, I was at 73 kilos. My height is 175 centimeters. 73 kilos. Now I'm only 65 kilos. So I lost a lot of weight. Mostly fat. Um, my my power remained the same, which is good. I'm also gaining muscles. Um, yeah, it's the best thing to ever happen to my cycling. What I noticed after I started keto when I became fat adapted is that I don't experience the usual lactic acid pain anymore. When I was carb up, see, the problem with carbs is that once you get to zone 3, zone 4, zone 5, you burn more carbs than fat. But even at zone 3 and below, you would always have lactic acid in your blood, because lactic acid is a natural byproduct of breaking down carbs. So if you don't have carbs, then your lactic acid is very minimal, and that's why now I can sustain high zone 5, like VO2 max, even anaerobic efforts, and I can do that for maybe 30 seconds to a minute, and then I get tired, I slow down, but then I don't have to wait long before I can push again. Back then, I have problems pushing anaerobic efforts because my legs would become really sore. Now I just have to wait for my heart rate to drop and then I can push again. So, contrary to what others say, my anaerobic efforts hasn't changed now that I'm doing keto. I'm really liking what's happening to me now. And here's the thing. They say that if you eat lots of fat, then your cholesterol levels would go up, and so on. Then you would have like heart disease. Well, well, good news. I had my blood checks last Monday, and got the report, and it's just amazing. So I've been in keto diet for 9 months now, and my triglycerides dropped from 1.9 to 0.7, and my cholesterol actually dropped from like more than 6 to just like 4. It's amazing that you eat lots of fat and protein, but you're losing your fat and your cholesterol levels drop and your triglycerides drop. I mean, what's not to like about that? I would say I'm at my healthiest in decades. I'm already 45, but yeah, based on some estimates of my age, I'm actually at 40 because of what's happening to me now. Yeah, and for me that's a really good thing. Um, I'm not trying to convince anyone to do keto. I'm not saying that carbohydrates don't work. They work. They work for the pros. They work for most people. Carbs work in the same way that when you fuel your car with E10, it works. E10 works for everyone. E10 works for most people. What I'm trying to say is that there's a better fuel out there. There's a 98 octane, and that's what keto is. Keto is to 98 as carbs is to E10. So I'm not telling you to start fueling with E10, but what I'm saying is that there is a 98 octane out there. It's more efficient, it cleans your body, you have more sustained power. It's just better fuel, really. So if fat and protein are better sources of fuel, then why aren't the pros doing it? Well, firstly, because they are sponsored by what SIS and other nutrition products, that are high on carbs. And you can't just say, Chris Froome, okay, you do keto, the rest of the team will do carbs. That's not possible. They would need to be in the same program. They need to be in the same nutritional program. So if it's carb for this guy, then it would be carbs for everyone. And I don't know, if people realize that keto is actually a better source of fuel, then maybe SIS would go bankrupt. I don't know. Maybe. But yeah, I'm not trying to convince anyone. It's up to you. It works for me. I don't care if if you go carbs or you go vegan. If it works for you, then yeah, continue doing what you're doing. But yeah, keto works for me. It might work for you. Just try it. It would take you about 2 to 3 months before you would feel the difference. But then after that, there's just no going back for me. I'm not doing carbs anymore. I'm full on keto diet, and it's the best thing to ever happen to my cycling. Until next time.